Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle in our national region. And the motion of dissection reads, companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chains. I read the motion again. Companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chain. Proposing and opposing this motion today is Light Academy versus Utumishi Boys Academy, and all the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
We have a problem. Our planet, our home, is under siege from the destructive forces of environmental degradation, brought about by a few money-hungry companies. But we, as side proposition, bring you a solution. The fact that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chains. Now, first, let me move on to the definitions of the key terms in this motion. So legal and financial accountability is basically being held responsible and liable according to the Webster Dictionary. So on the part of financial accountability, this includes imposing fines when a supplier creates a certain amount of environmental damage. Now, on the topic of environmental degradation, we define this as damage to deterioration of the environment due to things such as deforestation, air pollution, water contamination, and soil erosion. Supply chains, according to the IBM, are the steps involved in the production, transportation, storage, and distribution of goods. Now, what we as Team Proposition will do for you here today is to prove why the accountability for companies is the best way to reduce environmental degradation, and of course, to show the immense benefits that will be brought about by this. Now, on to my main point. This would be a huge incentive for sustainability to the companies, because as we all know, there's no better way to a businessman's heart than a hole in his pocket. Now, if we put a hole in this businessman's pocket, if we take away money from this businessman's company, who of course is running this oftentimes purely for profit, if we challenge the profit that this person is making, this means that they will be more incentivized to bring environmental change. So this can act as a strong incentive for companies to monitor and to regulate their supply chains better. So companies are encouraged to adopt eco-friendly practices throughout their supply chains, of course, to mitigate environmental impacts. And holding them financially accountable can incentivize them to transition to greener practices, which of course reduces the carbon footprint and results in a better world. Let me give you an example. A report published by the CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project, reveals that 71% of global greenhouse gas emissions in 2017 were attributed to just 100 companies, many of which had extensive supply chains. Let's look at this. 71% greenhouse gases, which of course lead to many environmental implications such as global warming, produced by only 100 companies. So what if we imposed fines on these companies for bringing all these results for environmental degradation? If we simply touch on only these 100 companies, would have already cut down 71% of global greenhouse gases. If this is not a world that we dream of, I do not know what is. Now, our team will, of course, come up here and tell us about the positive impacts that this will have on local communities and how it will help to preserve ecosystems and biodiversity. With that, I believe I have served the appetizer to our team's meal.
First speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Bruce Lee once said, "He who knows not, he knows not, is a fool, shun him." Let me shed light onto the motion that companies should not be legally and financially accountable for the environmental degradation caused by their supply chains. Probably you're wondering, what is a supply chain? A supply chain is the process of extraction, processing, production, packaging, and dissemination of the raw material into the good to the environment. That is a whole lot of process, isn't it? Then we go back to what is environmental degradation, our key thing. Environmental degradation is the deterioration, the putrefaction, the decline, in simple terms, of our environment due to certain processes of the industry, such as extraction. We all know that. But then, why should they be legally and financially accountable? This means that they are held responsible through their pockets, that is the money, and also bound by the laws for their environmental degradation. We are trying to put these words together. What am I trying to bring about? By research from BBC, we checked that they said Coca-Cola is the world's largest plastic producer pollutant. Yet still I felt that was irrelevant since they looked at the speck in their brother's eye, they forgot the log in their own eye. You're taking a plastic soda right now, later on you will throw it. But the bottle is written, reduce, reuse, recycle by Coca-Cola. Why blame Coca-Cola? Instead, there is one thing that is bad to us, and it's called ignorance. Socrates mentioned, a great philosopher, by the way, I'm in love with his books. He mentioned, one good, knowledge. One bad, and the greatest evil is ignorance. Kenyans are ignorant. If you had read that, you would have reused it, or recycled it, or reduced the waste. Did you? I think not. But then still, we are here blaming the companies for environmental degradation. Is that right? No. What I think is the better solution is to give them how to do it. Educate them. We all went through a process of education. That is why we are better off today than we were when we were young. What if we were not educated? We would know that anybody can leave their own disposals along the way. But we were educated. I, Anselmas Oyando, Utumishi Academy, opposing vehemently the motion, companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chains. Thank you.
The skies above, once clear and bright, now marred by clouds of man-made bright. Industrial towers spew their smoke as carbon footprints slowly choke. This is a legacy that has stood since time immemorial, and I come before you fighting towards Mother Nature's protection, not a jeopardization, because what they're saying is that we let the supply chains go, and this does not provide a solution, but just lets these companies run free. So first of all, I'd like to go into the main course meal by first attacking their rebuttals. With a rebuttal, he stated that we should educate these people to reuse or recycle the drinks or both plastic bottles. Education can only go so far. For you to enact problem-solving factors within the business, you should attack them at where it hurts most. Money. Money is something that anyone cannot do without, and that is what we are trying to achieve. Environmental degradation to be stopped, Mother Nature to be protected. So first of all, I'd like to go to the main course meal, which is my first point, impact on local communities. These local communities are like vulnerable flowers in the storm. They do not have shelter towards the problems caused by these companies, by their supply chains. How, you may ask? Well, environmental degradation caused by supply chain often disproportionately affects marginalized communities and indigenous populations, leading to social injustices. Holding companies accountable to these environmental consequences of their actions can lead to improved social and environmental justices for these communities. We are protecting the common 190. This is what will be achieved if we attacked these supply chains. And we can even take statistics that show how that this has been able to be achieved, because as of 2014, Human Rights highlights that a nearby lead smelter that recycled lead acid batteries had paid a whopping 1.3 billion Kenyan shillings fine for endangering the residents of Owino Uhuru in Mombasa. This lead caused brain, liver, and neurological damage. To these children, generations to come will suffer to these diseases that are caused by these supply chains. Rather than us detrimenting and resolving this issue, we are letting them run free. Education will not bring this to the table. What we are trying to achieve is a better environment. This is what we are asking for. And how we can achieve this? How we can achieve this is by taking, for example, taking, for example, class action lawsuits. What you may ask are class action lawsuits? Well, class action lawsuits are whereby mining companies such as, whereby large-scale environmental damages caused by supply chains can result in class action lawsuits, whereby multiple individuals or entities collectively seek compensation damages from the responsible companies. We are rubbing salt on their wound. We are attacking them where it hurts most. This will ensure them to work towards the betterment of the people. We're ensuring that Mother Nature is protected and you as an individual are protected. This is what we'll be able to achieve by us imposing such things such as lawsuits. And there's several other things. What this is help us to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is better health for the people. And the third speaker will come before you to offer to you the dessert, which will show you that we are truly working towards Mother Nature's restoration and protection. Thank you.
Dante Alighieri once said that the secret to get things done is to act. But all I've heard my brethren on this side saying is that we should blame companies for the damage they cause from their supply chains. And is this the way to go forward to curb climate change? I don't think so. My brother noticed that you are taking a club soda. When I was in Sunday school, I was told that Methuselah lived to be about 956 years. Let me tell you that that bottle will live far longer than that. And do you know why? It is not because Coca-Cola produced that bottle of soda. Weren't you refreshed from that bottle of soda? But you were the one who took the initiative not to reduce, not to reuse, nor to recycle that bottle. Therefore, you are the one that is contributing to global warming, to environmental degradation, and you're the one causing untold losses to these companies. Let's take an example of the Paris Agreement. George W. Bush, the 43rd President of the United States, refused to sign that contract. And do you know why? In interest of US interest, preferentially business interest, they refused. And why? Do you know why? The financial loss that would be incurred by making these companies pay for environmental degradation far outweighs the profits that these companies are giving us. Let's take an example of Coca-Cola. In Kenya, Mr. Ruto said that for climate change, we should seek to go green for our industries, in our homes, everywhere we go, think green. And to make this possible, the Kenyan government cannot do it alone. I mean, we have a debt, don't we? Who is going to give us the money to focus on climate change, yet we don't even have food? An example is Total Company, Total Energy, where you refuel. They produce a total of 12.66 billion tons of carbon dioxide. I haven't mentioned any other greenhouse gas. But Total Kenya has pledged that annually they should plant 100 million trees in Kenya. They themselves are taking the initiative. They are taking the initiative to curb climate change by themselves. So why should we curb laws? Why should we make them pay for something that they're already fixing? Is this the way to go? Is this the way to act? I don't think so. We can see that in Kenya, every 1 out of 2 plastic bottles comes from Coca-Cola. Isn't that astonishing? You want to tell me that if I took 2 bottles, one of them would be from Coca-Cola. But you see Coca-Cola being one of the greatest investors in green energy in Kenya. In fact, they want to have 0 emissions by the year 2040. So I oppose the motion that companies should not pay for environmental degradation due to their supply chains. Thanks.
Team Proposition have been asked to validate who are the top emitters for greenhouse gases and how exactly will they solve the problem of reducing the emission of these greenhouse gases within their framework. Team Opposition have been asked that they boldly say that companies are not necessarily at a wrong stand by giving the fact that they are the largest producers of some of these environmentally degrading factors. So where is the accountabilities for these companies since they're shifting the blame to the consumers? Team proposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, now serving the third course of the 5-star meal that has been the case of Team Proposition. My name, Joseph Otochi, a son of Light Academy, a firm protagonist of the motion at hand. And today we say that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chains. Now, first and foremost, to rebuttal a matter brought up by Team Opposition. Largely, their case has been based on an example of Coca-Cola. Now, the example shows us that Coca-Cola creates a problem followed by a solution that clearly does not work. So how can that possibly exonerate them? How does that make them not guilty of all the crimes that they have committed in terms of environmental degradation? We must still hold them accountable because they create a problem. They provide a solution. The solution does not work. Hence, we are right where we started. Now, I won't rebuttal just the example. I will attack the main case that they have provided by the first and second speakers. Now, to the main point of your first speaker, why create a problem only to solve it in an unsatisfactory manner? Why create a problem at all? On side proposition, we aim to solve the problem at its roots, not offer secondary solutions to our primary problem. Now, to answer the question by the audience. First of all, the top emitters are mainly 3 industries: mining, agriculture, and the palm oil industry, which involves palm oil plantations, which I will move to in my main argument. So now, how will we hold them accountable exactly? Now, as earlier stated by our first speaker, the way to a businessman's heart is through a hole in his wallet. By implementing excise taxes and levies and fines to companies that degrade the environment, we will be solving the problem at its roots, at the supply chain and at the company level. Now, at the heart of my speech, I am inspired by Sustainable Development Goal number 15, Life on Land, which aims to address deforestation, habitat destruction, and of highest relevance today, environmental degradation. First, a truth. We need to preserve our ecosystems and biodiversity. Holding companies financially responsible will motivate them to take measures to protect natural habitats and wildlife. Now, of course, why would I give you a truth without relevance? So this is the relevance. For example, as I mentioned earlier, the palm oil industry is known for driving deforestation in Southeast Asian countries, mainly Malaysia and Indonesia. Now, what this does, according to the World Wildlife Fund, approximately 300 football fields, roughly 1.6 square kilometers of rainforest are cleared every hour to make way for palm oil plantation. The impact of this is that orangutans go extinct in the next 5 to 10 years, and Sumerian tigers within the next 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I conclude by saying we cannot tolerate corporate negligence. Like a deceitful dance that tramples nature, hold companies accountable with us for their supply chain's environmental havoc. No immunity, no escape for them. We demand accountability, and our planet demands accountability. Thank you.
Third speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Now, Rick Mwangi from Utumishi Academy has to say that he has an issue with confidence, especially when more than 20 people are looking at him. So, why don't you help Rick Mwangi gain his confidence? I encourage all of us to take a deep breath in and then out at my call. Now, breathe in. Breathe out. If we must overthink, let us overthink. Now, by breathing out, are you aware that you have released carbon dioxide into the environment? That is a form of environmental degradation, is it not? Now, what would you say if I were to tell you that? You would simply say that I'm being unfair, that it is a must that you breathe out. haven't you considered that the companies also have a prerequisite to actually fulfill their goods and services? Surely, can you tell companies to simply stop polluting the environment all at once? It's like telling someone to go from a grade E to a grade A. Come on, the bottle you're using right now is non-biodegradable. That is a form of environmental degradation. We have used the example of the Coca-Cola bottles simply to show that it can be a serious burden to lay all the blame on the companies, or even any of the blame, because these companies actually strive to conserve the environment, yet the consumers are the ones putting a bad picture on it. Now to answer the question, which I think I've answered partially, I believe that both companies and the consumers are not at blame, but rather should work together so as to achieve the common goal, because we live in the same planet, don't we not? By education, as my first opposer had said, we can mention that we can educate them by simply encouraging activities that actually conserve the environment. One of them, telecommuting where possible. Instead of wasting fuel, which produces gases that pollute the environment, why don't we encourage working from home using technological devices? Why don't we encourage using environmentally friendly machinery? A case in the company called Yes Straws, which realized that many people are actually polluting the environment by releasing plastic straws. So what they did, they designed straws which are 100% biodegradable, so as to help in conserving the environment. These companies are actually trying, that's what we're trying to say, they are trying to conserve the environment. But I must say, it is a slow process which we must give patience. And in the end, we will reach that goal of having a green globe. Now, the companies can also use biodegradable equipment, and they can also use renewable energy. An example is Pella Company, which was inspired by more than 60,000 plastic phone cases thrown away each year, and they were able to produce the first phone case that is actually composable, and it is free of lead, calcium, and phthalates. Thank you so much.
Team Proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
So we have won this debate on these main metrics. They have not given us a single satisfactory option to what we are proposing in the motion. Thus, our case has already won by virtue of they have not given us a single better option. 2, they haven't offered any rebuttals to any of our points, such as the greater incentive for sustainability, the positive impact on local communities, and of course, preserving the ecosystems and biodiversity. All these points still stand because they have not rebutted them at all. Thirdly, I'd like to make a single clarification. We're not trying to completely eliminate carbon emissions, like you're saying, us breathing out. That is not relevant to this debate. We are simply trying to reduce the carbon footprint through offsetting it in ways such as planting trees. Now, they have given us very niche examples, such as those of Total and Coca-Cola. Now, do these examples apply to most businesses? Because in a debate, you should give general examples that should be possible in most cases, but they have given us very niche examples that do not apply to most businesses. And they have talked about these plastic bottles that you have. No, recycling exists on both sides of the house. Thus, I believe the judges should not credit this in their deliberation. Now, with that, I believe side proposition has clearly won this debate. Thank you.
Team Proposition, we will be taking closing remarks. You have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
My brothers on this side would say that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation. If they ask them where that money is going, what would they say? Nothing. They have no results for the money that is actually being paid, if it is actually being paid. But they have they would say that our solutions do not work. I'll give you an example of Chevron Company in the US. It drills oils. Oils contribute to fossil fuels, do they not? Chevron Company is responsible for producing a 29 megawatt system in an oil field that they had used. So, our solutions are working. Why? Because they are contributing to clean, green energy. They are using the light that you don't see to make energy. Therefore, I repeat, their solution is working. Once more, I would like to say that another solutions we have given are telecommuting and working together for global greenness. Thanos told Thor, go for the head. I believe that going for the head means working together as a world. Join me.
I want to appreciate the level of debate, the level of research you have done, because from my opinion, I have felt like I went around understanding the levels of which you're doing. And I even felt guilty having this enough. But anyway, good examples though. When we're talking about companies being held accountable for, being held legally and financially accountable for environmental degradation caused by their supply chain, the proposition definitely starts to tell us, yes, let's really take these guys to book. That's you, Light Academy, and the opposition is saying no. And I love the stand that you took. It is an individual responsibility, which is a good way to go about it, and everybody hammered that out. Very quick things to both teams, very good speakers. Both teams, again, good reasoning. Both teams, again, references to SDGs and all that. Both teams, again, good use of rhetoric and examples as well. And they were all cited. All the best to the winning team.
We have come to the end of this knockout round, and I will move straight to the announcement. And the judges have awarded Light Academy with 69.3%. A round of applause, please, for Light Academy. And the judges have awarded Utumishi Boys Academy with 69.3%. And we have a tie for both teams. A round of applause, please, for both teams. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of this debate here at the Debate Circle. Remember to check our social media handle for more of this content on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and as well as on TikTok at the Debate Circle. And until next time, it is goodbye from us.